Welcome to Kick Back with Chris. Kick Back with Chris, the martial arts podcast.
Brought to you by www.mittmaster.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Kick Back with Chris, the martial arts podcast. I hope you've all had a great week. I hope you've all certainly had a better week than I have with social media, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. So, this week we are going to be joined by Rob from the awesome Mcdojolife. Now, those of you that have been listening for a while will know that earlier this year, in fact, going back right to the start of the year, we actually had Rob on for an episode. But I got to hold my hands up on this one. I made a little bit of a gaffe with the recording equipment, and essentially what I did was I left the microphone plugged in to my system, and it defaulted to it, and it was actually under my desk. Now, Rob didn't actually say anything at the time. He just carried on like a pro, but it must have sounded like I was interviewing him from the other side of a room under a table. So we're going to go for it again today. Obviously, We'll touch on and we'll recap the mission of Mcdojolife, giving him opportunity, obviously, to talk a little bit about his history and his reasons for forming the group, as well as talking about some exciting things that he's got going on, going forwards in the direction of the group and how it's evolving. But I'll save that for when we have our chat. Also, later on this episode, we will be joined by Matthew Chapman for our regular Mat Chat. But before we get to any of that, I'm just going to talk about a few things that we've had going off in social media land, the bits that I can access, as well as some regular bits of news as well. So, for those of you that follow me on my own page, my own like page for my own work, aside from the podcast, you'll know that I've been involved in the production Hood, A Legend Reborn, which has been filming in the Nottingham area, which is pretty cool given that it's a Robin Hood themed production. But prior to this, my friend and director of this particular film, Adam Collins, who's also a fantastic actor and professional stuntman as well, he actually put together a production which I, at the time, was trying to get involved with, but one thing or another, everything just kept clashing all the time. But anyway, a film called Outlawed, which is really fantastic. It just got released on Netflix. Now, what's cool about this production is from the money raised from the film, I won't say that I know exactly how it all works, but I do know that they raised at least £4,000 for a combat stress charity, which is fantastic. Adam being a former Marine himself, you know, this I'm sure was something that's close to his heart, and to raise that amount of money, £4,000 for a combat stress, was fantastic. And the way I believed it worked is a lot of the people involved in production gave their time for free, as did people, you know, sourcing equipment, that sort of things as well. So it's really cool to see something of this magnitude, this production scale, being done with raising money in mind for a charity. So please do give it some support. You know, it's the way these things work with Netflix. You know, the more people that view it, the better. So if you can head over to Netflix and check out the movie Outlawed, starring Adam Collins and directed by Adam Collins and produced by Adam Collins. But yeah, obviously lots of other people involved as well. But go give it a watch, and don't forget to give it an upvote as well. The little thumbs up button that you can press on Netflix. Okay, so next of all, I'm going to be covering a couple of DVD/Blu-ray releases that I promised my good friend Mr. Mike Leader that I would give a little bit of a plug to this episode. And to be honest, I'm quite excited for them as well. So the first one, coming from 88 Films, is Double Bill of Jackie Chan. And it says, that's how it's listed, Double Bill of Jackie Chan on shiny disc. I like that. Kirk Wong's dark crime story, which is hard to say, hits with a beautiful new transfer and all manner of special features, including interviews with Kirk Wong, Bruce Law, an assistant director, and an audio commentary from filmmakers, including my friend, Mr. Mike Leader. Following that comes The Protector, another classic, The Protector. I was gonna quote one of the lines about the gun then, but I better not, because iTunes doesn't like it when you swear too much. Give me the flipping gun. One of those classic Jackie Chan moments where you know it's never going to be repeated. Following on from that, The Protector, directed by James Glickenhaus, featuring special features include a look at the 2 different takes on the movie, the international Asian cuts, which are really quite different, by filmmaker Steve Lawson, my good friend Steve Lawson, director of Insiders and The Silencer, and Essex Heist. My words won't work today. All 3 films which I managed to work on, which was pretty cool. But yeah, filmmaker Steve Lawson, plus an audio commentary, again from my good friend Mike Leader, plus bonus audio commentary on the Asian cut of the movie, which features an extended fight scene by Mike Leader, and Irish filmmaking maverick George Clark. George is a decent guy. I've not met him yet, but I've spoken to him on Facebook a few times, so that sounds very cool. And next is from Eureka Entertainment, I lost my track here. Oh yeah, from Eureka Entertainment, there's an epic Sammo Hung triple bill of Eastern Condors, Magnificent Butcher, and Iron-Fisted Monk. 3 classics, guys. There, 3 classics. Special features include fantastic! Special features include Eastern Condors, the live peaking opera version. I've seen some of that on YouTube as well. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. Plus audio commentaries, lots of cool stuff there. And then finally, tying in with of Jean-Claude Van Damme special a couple of episodes back, The Quest, which was Jean-Claude's directorial debut. This is from 101 Films. It features a new transfer, which is always nice, plus interviews from co-stars Jack McGee and the UK Taekwondo stunt legend Mr. Mike Lambert, who's also a very, very good guy. And then again, another audio commentary from Mike. So check all that out, guys. There's some goodies there, some fantastic stuff. I will be sure to check all of those out as well. So moving on now, I did briefly touch on the debacle that is Facebook this last week. So as some of you might know, or indeed a lot of you won't know because you won't have seen my posts, Facebook very kindly put a temporary, how do they refer to it? It's not a block, restriction, that's it. A temporary restriction on my personal profile because some very kind individual showing lots of love reported one of my posts saying thank you to everybody for their support on the podcast. They reported it as spam because that's what nice people do. So there's me putting a nice post out saying thanks to everybody for sharing the links and inviting their friends to like the page. I appreciate your support. And then some cold, heartless soul goes and reports it to Facebook as spam. Now, Facebook being the multi-billion-dollar giant that it is, they don't have I suppose they have a lot of people that work for them, but this is all automated, so I don't think an actual person's seen the post. I think what triggered it, having spoke to some experts in this, is a certain combination of keywords involving the words invite, like, your friends, and their system mistakened it for me asking people to do business type stuff on my personal profile, which it wasn't. I was actually just saying thank you to everybody for liking my page and showing support and all that sort of thing. You'd have thought the picture attached would have been a bit of a clue. But anyway, their system automatically put a block on my account for 3 months, so I can't do anything with it now till February. Now, this sort of stuff happens. It's martial arts industry. It's a bit of a sly industry to be in, but it is a bit of a shame that people. I think what it is we've had several more successful episodes. We've had the Van Damme episode, which Jean-Claude shared, and we had the Mark Dacascos episode, which Mark shared and got involved with and sent us the audio clips in for which we're very, very grateful. And I think somebody's not liking the upward trend of the podcast. Now, if you're listening right now, what I would say is it's trying to have my links blocked and stuff is going to make no difference, because it's just actually, as you can probably tell now, going to inspire me to put more effort in and ask more people to share the link. So I'm going to do that now. This episode you're listening to, if you found it on social media, if you can share that link, please. Let's make these people regret trying to slow down the progress of the podcast, because it's not going to work, And not only that, but it's a real dick thing to do, because I'm not charging for these. I'm doing it as for the enjoyment of it, and because I have people saying that they enjoy it and it brings something to their life. So don't be a dick and try and block my podcast. And for the people out there that aren't dicks, sorry iTunes for the naughty words. If you can just carry on sharing the links for me, blasting it even more, I would really appreciate it. So now that I've got off my soapbox, I think it's time for us to head straight over to our interview with Rob from Mcdojolife. I've been looking forward to this. We've been trying to get it coordinated. Rob is pretty much the other side of the world to us, so trying to get these things coordinated can be tricky. But yeah, let's check in with Rob, and then I'll speak to you after that.
Enjoy our podcast? Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review Kickback with Chris on iTunes today.
Okay, guys, so joining me on the phone now, all the way from the United States, we have the awesome Rob from Mcdojolife. How are we doing today, sir?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. Actually, I should have said in that a return guest all the way from the United States, because we spoke the beginning of this year where I just spoke about this in the lead-in into this interview, where I made the very one-time amateurish mistake of leaving a camera plugged in under my table, which was recording the audio for the entire interview. This time I've unplugged it, so it can't happen again. So everybody, including yourself, should be able to hear what I'm saying now.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, and it happens, man. It happens.
Yeah, it did, and it just happened to happen that time round. But anyway, moving
I've had
on.
a couple guests, like I accidentally had the screen open twice on the application that I use, and man, it echoed so hard I couldn't use any of the footage for like 2 guests, and I was like killing myself for that. So I understand.
Oh no. So anyway, how's it been? As I say, it's been roughly a year since we spoke, there, give or take a month or so. So how things have progressed for Mcdojolife as a whole and for yourself?
Oh man, it's been an incredible year, to be honest. As of January, I was able to make it my full-time job. So now Mcdojolife is my full-time career, which I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to do this full time, because I mean, really, I kind of get paid to just mess around online most of the time.
Wow.
But it has its like ups and downs,
Sure.
For instance, we're working on a full-length documentary. We just released the trailer 2 days ago.
Yep.
And we've gotten some amazing response for that so far. Right now we're doing a hard push to try to get it onto Netflix. Obviously that's not the only platform, but you don't want to spread yourself too thin. We didn't want to tag whoever your platform is. And then rather than having thousands of people tag one thing, you'd only have a few people tagging individual production companies.
Sure.
But yeah, so we're pushing real hard for that. We start our crowdfunding in January if we're not able to get it pitched to a network. So that's very interesting. Last night I got a threatening, I wouldn't say it's threatening. I mean, it wound up being a mutually beneficial phone call, but the dude was very upset. He was a part of the documentary, not a part of, but he was like on the trailer and he seemed quite upset that he was on the trailer. So, but we discussed and we got everything squared away.
Well, there was one of the questions I was going to ask you was regards to the increased attention. But before we do that, just for the benefit of the listeners that have joined us since we spoke, because we've had a little bit of a mini boom ourselves with this podcast this last few months with certain guests we've had on. So we've got quite a lot of new listeners that probably won't have heard, although really they should go back and listen to it. But anyway, they might not have heard you the last time round. So could you perhaps tell us a little bit about Mcdojolife, how it was conceived, what the idea was behind it?
Yeah, of course. So Mcdojolife is a entity, I guess. It's very hard to explain it other than it's an entity, a brand. But the goal is to call out fakes, frauds, and phonies in the martial arts with the mission statement of keeping martial arts legitimate.
Sure.
Of course, that's up to interpretation what you feel is and is not legitimate for yourself. But we have 5 pretty standard rules that we've come up with that are pretty much universally applicable to whatever martial art you do. So, you shouldn't be a pedophile in the martial arts, right?
No.
Where everybody's going to agree with that no matter what.
Just in general.
Yeah,
in life.
Exactly, right. At all. But, the thing is, because there's no regulating body to the martial arts, there's really no checks and balances. So there are plenty of really shady people who just use this as their last refuge for a job because they know there's going to be no technical requirements for themselves other than I can punch faces.
So true. So true. Unreal.
It's sad. It's really sad because over the years, of course, the old school mentalities of the honor and the integrity and the Bushido, code and stuff like that, they still exist. But the problem is that a lot of people are using that as a weapon against the consumer to lure them into less than savory martial arts studios, and they wind up either getting themselves hurt or taken advantage of financially.
Absolutely. I mean, it's fair to say that the arts, for both good and, in this case, bad reasons, have evolved over the years, as does everything. But there's, as you say, there are those people that have manipulated that evolution to allow them to get away with things that they really shouldn't be doing, and they know they shouldn't be doing them. I mean, a classic example, I won't name the guy, but there's an instructor close to me who just awarded himself a fourth degree in a system that he made up, and had one of his coloured belt students present him with the belt. You know, and it's that kind of chicanery, the weirdness that goes on, that the public just kind of go, okay, we don't know any better. And
on
obviously,
a side note, feel free to send me that information.
Whoa, here we go.
That's what I do, man.
Absolutely, but yeah, so that was one of your. I actually remember some of the others as well, but I'll let you tell us the five.
Oh, the rules.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first one we just said was there should be no pedophiles.
Absolutely.
Obviously, there shouldn't be pedophiles at all, but there's a lot of people who, because there is going to be nobody really checking up on them in the martial arts, it's almost like a scapegoat for them. And actually, there's a martial arts studio that we're going to be calling out here soon that has 3 martial arts studios. The gentleman molested a 15-year-old girl in his home, and because of a plea deal, he was able to get a lesser charge and not be put on a registry. So he's still teaching around children. He still has studios. And I don't, obviously when something like that happens, like I personally am not a fan of anybody who would do anything like that at all. But you have to understand that they do still exist, right? And so they need a way to make money, and I understand that. But what isn't cool is the fact that he's allowed around children. That's not cool. And so at least a parent should be aware. Parents should be aware of what's going on, so that way when they go to put their children in a program like that, they have all the information ahead of them. Because it's not the kid's fault. The children who are having to go, it's not their fault that this person's a sick individual. So it's important that people have all the information ahead of time, so that way when they go to these free trial classes or paid trial classes, that they're aware that, hey, this person has done this in their past. And, it should be the same with pretty much anything. If they were 15-time convicted felon, but they've turned their life around. Well, cool. You turned your life around. Some people can respect that, but some people won't. And that's all there is to it. And they should be aware before they sign up. They shouldn't find out 5, 10, 15 years into training with you that you had this really shady past.
Yeah. So. And I think, it's not validating any one crime, but I think with something as specific as molesting children, to then carry on working with children, it's not kind of the same as, hey, I used to steal cars as a teenager.
Yeah,
that's
much different. It's
so much different, and it's specific, and you're right. It shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be going on, but it does. And that's scary. Okay, so what you actually quickly touched upon earlier on. You were saying about the person that had been threatening you because of because they'd been included. Now, interestingly enough, I was going to ask you, with the increased attention and sort of like the explosion of the group over the last sort of year and a half, have you seen I'm guessing that I'm asking a silly question here, but have you seen an increase in those sort of people coming forwards with you're disrespecting my instructor, I'm going to do this, that, the other? Has there been an increase in those sort of people coming out of the woodwork?
There's an increase in those people, but there's been a decrease in like death threats. Interesting. I used to get death threats like every other week. I wish that was an exaggeration.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I've had some really, really, really weird moments. Like, I was at this is like at the very beginning of this year, was like the last major death threat that I got. But I was at a Taekwondo tournament in London. And while I was at the Taekwondo tournament in London, I'm sitting down, and I wind up getting 2 threats. One from which I assume they were from the same person, but that's just how online goes. You never know. But I got two threats. One was from a gentleman who wanted me to go to what he called his martial arts studio and fight him. And I was like, I don't know why you want me to do that, but he just figured that today was the day he was going to call out somebody, and I was that guy.
Right.
And then just to touch on that one real fast before I go to the second one, because the second one was far more serious. I did some research in the conversations that we were having and found out that he wasn't the owner of the Taekwondo studio, which he claimed to be. And you know, I looked at his footage, and on his footage, you know, it's quite obvious that even though as a black belt in that particular system, it wasn't a very talented black belt. So like, and I don't believe that violence 9 times out of 10 is the answer, you know? Sure. So I was like, dude, whatever your issue is or whatever your problem is, like, stop like blowing up my phone. Like, I'm going to be polite to you. Like, just stop texting me, leave me alone. Right. And then he just kept going. So finally I was like, look, dude, now he like started to threaten me. He started to threaten people that I know. And finally I was like, all right, man. I was like, here's how this is going to go. I was like, I'm going to give you 24 hours to apologize, which is my pretty much standard answer for everything. I'm going to give you 24 hours to apologize. I go, if I don't get your apology by yourself in 24 hours, I'm going to get you the apology. He was like, you won't do nothing. And they never believe that I'll do anything. They never think that I have like an answer for this. Like it's my first rodeo. It ain't, you know? So the next thing I do is I just contact his martial arts studio that he claims to own. And I'm like, are you aware that one of your students is going around using your studio as some type of backdoor fight club? And I was like, I'm pretty sure. And then they were like, oh, well, let's look into that. So I showed them the messages. And finally, the studio was like, you know, it doesn't seem like you're all that upset about this, so we're not going to make him apologize. I was like, okay, that's fair enough. That's cool. So I was bothered enough to contact you to ask for you politely to have one of your students who's representing your studio to stop. And they're representing you. That's exactly what that is. It's very similar to like an employee. They're using your studio to open up the doors for a lawsuit, basically. Because let's say I go over there and I get hurt and they hurt me on purpose. That's an easy lawsuit. And I can even prove that it's premeditated, you know? Like he even said in text messages that he wanted to hurt me, right? And, you know, that's obviously like a weird way about it, but that's just the truth. Imagine that I was just some regular dude or I had a mental handicap and I actually did it and I did get hurt. Well, that studio would be closed in 24 hours. So I always try to be respectful enough to assume that the owner or instructor doesn't know. So I let them know because it's their business, you know?
Absolutely.
If I was a business owner, I would want to know if somebody representing my business was being shady. And then so I contacted them. They were like, yeah, we don't really care all that much. I was like, okay, are you sure? I was like, this is about to go real bad. And they were like, nah. And then so I just put them on blast. I put them on blast. I address, phone number, location, his address, his phone number, his location. I got my apology within 3 hours from that. Recorded. He typed it at first. And then after that, I was like, nah, I gave you that chance. I want you to say it. And so he recorded a video and he sent it to me, which I save on my phone, every one of those type of apologies that I get. And so I have every once in a while, whenever I think about somebody getting all crazy and trying to threaten me, I just think about that video and how I handled that situation, and it works every time.
Wow, it's crazy to think how extreme some people get with this. It's, you know, I don't like to bring religion as such into discussion topics like this, but there's like it's almost borderline, isn't there? Sometimes like it's religious, almost extremist views that come into people with regards to martial arts. You know, they'll go out of their way to do some really crazy stuff in the name of their martial art or their instructor that you just wouldn't do it any of them play any walk in life. Really, it's insane.
Yeah, people are, and you know, you have to understand that a lot of people who are going to like a religion or a lot of people who are going to a martial art are going there to get something from it. That like most people who start martial arts aren't starting martial arts because they want to learn how to fight people. Most people. Now, there are definitely people out there who go, I want to be a fighter. I want to be an MMA guy. You know, most people who are just looking for that stuff don't typically last very long.
Sure.
Most of the people who join They join because they would like to make more friends, or they need a mentor, or their life isn't going very well right now, or
Sure.
they want to lose weight, or they,
Yep.
there's so many reasons that people join. I think that a lot of people get stuck on the reasons they joined.
Sure.
They're like, I joined because I wanted to learn how to punch faces. Well, you joined for a stupid reason.
Yeah, I think it'd be fair to say as well, just thinking about this now, that the people that perpetuate this sort of make-believe martial arts stuff, they tend to attract people that are maybe, well, they're obviously more easily led, but if you look at the martial arts, you split it into sort of like you say, the people that want to fight, the people that like the idea of the fighting, but maybe they like the idea of the fighting, they don't actually want to do that part, and those are the people that I think tend to get sucked into this a little bit more. The falsities of, I can touch you on the head and you're gonna go to sleep for a week. They're preying on those people, aren't they? Really?
Yeah. Well, it's not. So here's the major problem, and I don't think a lot of people will agree with me, but I think that will change over time.
Okay.
Hold on, I got to sneeze. I don't
We all got to
want
do that sometimes.
to.
That was a good one.
Oh yeah, that was good. I had to move the phone away from my face. I didn't want to blow your speakers out, man.
Now you just G-blast somebody in the next room with that
somebody
sneeze.
had a heart attack in the condo over. But yeah, so I apologize. My thought went away from me. Oh, the reason I think people are falling down this rabbit hole isn't what I think that most people assume. I think most people assume that these people are just gullible and stupid, and I've definitely seen people say they deserve it, which I never agree with that. I never think, like, usually, again, I'll say 9 times out of 10, there's always extenuating circumstances, but usually the victim is the victim.
Yes.
That's like saying, well, she shouldn't have been dressed like that. Like, what? Like, why? She's the victim,
Yeah, you're right.
And so it's the same thing with people who fall for this stuff. It's actually not that hard to get people to fall for it, and I'll kind of explain that a little deeper, and I think it's important for people to hear. But there are people who are really good at martial arts and terrible at business, or there are people who are really good at business but terrible at martial arts.
Yes.
And you usually don't get the two to meet, because a lot of martial artists think that making money in the martial arts is bad. That is ridiculous.
Yes, it's very ridiculous.
A business, and how people treat it now is kind of like a public pool. So let's say we're all hanging out in a public pool, right? And it's karate and taekwondo and jiu-jitsu, and even aikido is there. He's got floaties, he's spinning in circles, and he's trying to bite his own ear, but he's there, and he's welcome because he's one of us, right? And so we're all hanging out at the pool, and then here comes George Dillman, and he walks up to the pool, and he just starts peeing in it. Now, how most martial artists actually interpret this are like this. They go, oh, well, if we just ignore him, he'll go away. We're just going to focus on our students and make our students the best we can make them. Well, George Dillman keeps peeing in that pool. Okay, nobody stopped him. He's going to continue. And then you know what's going to happen? Here comes the Bujinkan Ninjutsu people. Oh, my God, George Dillman's peeing in the pool. We can pee in the pool, too? All right. And so here they come, and they start peeing in the pool, too. And then they continue that logic. Oh, well, if we just ignore it and focus on our students, then they'll go away. Well, while they've been there, they've been working on getting better at business, while these people who are in the pool have been just getting better at learning how to swim. And so even though they're focusing all their attention on something that's noble and good, which is getting better at the arts, they're forgetting that those people who are peeing in our pool are getting better at business. And they're learning the tools and the tricks to get people signed up to join their studios. And you have to remember, in martial arts, we don't cold call people. We don't go door to door, handing like, hey, you should join our martial arts studio. We don't do that. Anybody that comes to us already has the interest of the studio. They already want to join you. That's why they came. So it's up to us to keep them there. Well, that's done through sales. You have to understand sales. And you don't have to be a pressure salesman. You don't have to use trickery, but you do have to understand common sense, is that these people already are coming to you. They want to sign up at your studio. you're pushing them away. That's the only options. Either you convince them to stay because they already came, or you push them away. And a lot of people who are great at martial arts don't understand that. They go, well, if our art's just good enough, then they'll enjoy it. No, that's not how this shit works. If I make the greatest pizza on the planet, right? Best pizza ever made, hands down, can prove it. And it's in my kitchen, but I advertise it to no one, it's going to go bad, no matter how good it is. You have to learn how to advertise. You have to learn how to sell. You have to learn how to get people in your door and keep people in your door. And you can't just do that by going, well, my jiu-jitsu is just good enough. My karate is just good enough. No, it's not. No, it's not. I don't care how good you are. I've seen so many multiple-time world champion studios crumble because they didn't take the time to get a business mentor. They spent all these years with a black belt mentor, an instructor above them, a grandmaster, a professor, a sensei, and they thought that was the most honorable thing. But then when it came time to learn how to get business involved, they were like, you know what? I know I had to spend years and years and years upon years studying and getting better under somebody who knew what they were doing. But when it comes to business, screw that. I'll just wing it. And that's dumb. And that's why these businesses, that's why these frauds are able to flourish, is because that mentality, that mindset that if I just work on my stuff, my jiu-jitsu, my karate, then it will succeed. And if I ignore them, they'll just go away. And that is a huge lie that is perpetuated.
It does make you wonder, though, especially, I mean, the way that social media is constantly evolving, and the way that media is such in the video format now, it's catching more and more of these people out. Yet they're still managing to carry on perpetuating the same lies. Are they just finding more creative ways to cover up what they're doing, or are people just still falling for it? Well, I mean, because you see videos are coming out all the time on YouTube, and people like yourselves showing these people at live events saying, I'd like you to try this on me, and then they have like 8, 9, 10 goes, and then they'll go, well, your toes down and your tongue's up, and you're looking to the west, and
I see you've been watching my videos.
Of course I have. But yet these people seemingly, even though these videos are out there, they're still managing to have some level of success, and it does make you wonder, doesn't it?
Well, so I'll kind of break down at least a little bit of business. Like, one thing that I do that actually people like, how do you make money doing this? Like, one of the big things that I do is I've been doing business consulting for like the last 2 years. And when I started doing that, helping good studios grow, it's helped tremendously, because that's one of the biggest questions I get is, how come that fraud has 100 people in his seminar and I can't get 5 students in my door? Well, that's easy. So I'll give everybody a little taste, a little trick on how to get people in your door. It does not matter what you are teaching. That's where people need to get that out of their head. What you're teaching is not the reason people are staying in your studio, right? It could be badminton, it could be basketball. No matter what it is, you're going to get the same exact 5, what we call objections. So whenever you go to sign somebody up, the one word that you will rarely hear is the word no, right? Sure. So let's say day one, you walk into, let's say, George Dillman. Well, I'll just pretend I'm George Dillman right now. And so this is how this is going to go, right? Okay. I'm not going to teach you how to knock people out with your mind on the first day, right? We can all pretty much assume that. So let's say I teach you something that's universally taught that you can say, oh, that makes sense. I understand it. So let's say on your trial class, you came in, let's say you did an hour with everybody. Everybody there has a role. When you walk in the door, I have somebody there to greet you. When you called, I talked to you on the phone personally. When you took the class, I shook your hand. I welcomed you warmly, right? Here is where the metal meets the meat. Here is where you start to sell somebody. It's not going to be because of the front kick you taught. It's going to be because of these 5 rules. Now, the 5 objections are, I don't have the time. I don't have the money. It's too far away. I need to think about it, or I need to talk to my spouse. Yep. Those are the 5 things that you're going to hear instead of the word no. And again, the reason that you're going to hear these objections is because these people already came to you with the intent of wanting to do this. So they have a problem pulling the trigger. Now, for anybody who's in a legitimate business, you have the best of intentions, right? Sure. You go, hey, man, look, your doctor told you that you need to lose 60 pounds. I am quite positive that you will lose 60 pounds here. Let's go ahead and get this signed up. And then you do, and you help them lose the weight, and you're a good human being. But on the other end, right, if your intentions are ill and you're like, well, I just need the money, then that's a bad reason to try to sign somebody up. But
Sure.
I digress. Let's take it back so that way I can show everybody how to sign people up real quick, right? So because of these 5 objections, you're going to have to run into those obstacles. So why not get rid of them in the first 5 minutes? So whenever somebody walks in your door, you go, hey, man, my name is George Dillman. How are you? And they go, my name is Steve. I go, oh, that's awesome, Steve. Are you coming from home or from work? They go, oh, well, I'm coming from home. I actually live right around the corner. Boom. Right there. I just took care of one objection. You can no longer tell me when we go to sign the contract, whether it be month to month or whether it be a year or whatever the contract is, that you were too far away. You can't tell me that. You just told me you live right around the corner.
Sure.
So we continue. I go, awesome, man. Well, what brings you in? Well, I want to learn how to defend myself. I come from a rough neighborhood, and I've gotten a few altercations, and I feel like I'm not prepared. Okay, that's cool. How long have you been thinking about doing this? Oh man, I've been thinking about doing this for like over a year. Boom. Objection number 2 taken care of. You can no longer tell me at the end of this that you have to think about it. You just told me you've been thinking about this for over a year. So we move on. Then I go, well, that's awesome. And, I understand, but in order for this to work, you definitely have to have the support of your family or your loved ones. Do you have support from them? Oh, yeah, of course, man. My wife is all about this. Boom. Now you can no longer tell me you need to speak with your spouse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we move
yeah.
on. Now we have the last 2, right? Which is money. What was the other one? It's money, distance. I have to think about it. Need to talk to my spouse. Anyway, we'll just go to money.
I'm trying to remember that. I should have written them down as you were telling me.
Right. And so I'm sorry. I'm trying to do this quick without having all my notes.
No. It's fine.
So, and then we have to deal with money. Money is the biggest one, right?
It is, yeah.
Time. Time is another one we can knock out real fast. And I go, okay, cool, man. Well, I know you're coming in today. In order for you to reach those goals, how many days a week do you think it's going to take for you to get there? And they're going to go, well, I think it's going to take me about 2 years to really get good at this. And I go, okay, that's a good amount of time. And anything that you tell me under a year, I'm going to tell you no, because that's just realistic. But also, it allows me to get you signed up on a year contract. So if somebody goes, I think it's only going to take about 3 months for me to get good. I go, well, let's be realistic. All right. It's going to definitely take you more than 3 months to get proficient at self-defense. What do you think a year? Do you think a year is fair? Oh, yeah, that sounds good. They don't know you're selling them already.
Yeah.
They're not aware of this. So now when you go down to sit down to sign them up with a year contract that they've already agreed to before they've even taken a class. So then finally we go to sit down, we go to talk about money. There's a million different ways to do this. One of those ways is add a registration fee that doesn't exist. So for instance, I go, okay, man, here's the contract. I give them 2 different options. And I go, I'll tell you what, because it's your first day, let's say we usually have like $150 registration fee. I'll waive that for you on your first day. You won't have to worry about paying that if you decide to sign up today. Now, of course, if you tell me, man, money's tight, well, I just saved you $150 and I give you some other type of special deal that's only going to be good for today. Come on. It's going to be hard for you to argue that and you already are coming to this trial class with the intent of signing up. Now, granted, there are definitely people out there who say they can't afford things, but people buy shit they can't afford all the time. That's just true. They have like every subscription service that's streaming. They have credit cards. Well, credit card literally means I can't afford this. Credit card is just another word for I couldn't afford this in the first place, but now I'm going to make payments for something I couldn't afford. And so people will buy stuff as long as you're willing to sell it. And so if they already came to your studio and you're already able to get past these 5 objections, what you teach them does not matter. And that's what people are having a hard time with when it comes to the blockage of understanding how these people get signed up. That part is easy. Signing people up is easy if you know what you're doing. It's just like a technique. It's just like a jab, cross, an arm bar, a guillotine choke. Doesn't matter. It's a technique. And if you use the technique, you will be successful if you practice. If you just wing it, if you're like, yeah, I already know how to fight. I'm a street fighter. I watch a lot of Bruce Lee movies. Well, okay, you obviously are going to suck, right? And we could all laugh at that as martial artists, right? How ridiculous that sounds. That's how ridiculous it sounds to me whenever I hear people talk about their businesses are going to grow because of their art. Bullshit. That's a lie. And they don't understand that. And then that's why they can't quite process how these people are so successful, is because they're wrapping their mind around only one half of this, which is what you're teaching. They're not wrapping it around sales, business, and none of that is dirty tactics if you have good intent. If that person really does need to lose 100 pounds and they have had a hard time for the last 5 years pulling the trigger on joining an exercise program, you might save their life. That's a fact. But again, these are tools that you can either use for good, or they're tools that you can use to take advantage of people.
Yeah, if you're using it to sign them up to teach them a secret death touch that's been handed down from generation to generation, that's not quite so good. You must at certain points get people that have been almost indoctrinated into these societies, shall we say, that somewhere down the line, maybe a 2 year or two in, they suddenly go, "Oh no, what have I joined?" Have you come across many people like that have come out of this and gone, "I'm in really deep in this, but I've suddenly realised that it's just shit. It's all make believe." Have you ever had any people like that contact you before?
Yeah, actually, I've had, and that's one of the most rewarding parts of this job. With as many people as who don't agree, who give me threats and stuff like that, I get 10 times as many people who thank me.
Wow.
And they might thank me for different reasons. I get people who say thank you for just the fact that they get a morning laugh every day. I get people who thank me because they were a part of an art that they had just joined. They stumbled across the page. They were like, "Oh, I know that guy." They researched, realized that this is ridiculous, and then backed out. That's the most rewarding thing. There's also a gentleman who wrote a book, which is really incredible. And the book was about him being in what he called a martial arts cult, which I agree, they're cults. And he joined, and then he got all the way up to an instructor level before he really had the realization that he was in a cult. And then he got out, and now he's doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's a really, really well-written book. Man, I wish I had the name of it right here. I'm unfortunately not at my house. But
That's okay.
We're going to be interviewing that guy in the documentary to get the side of somebody who was in it and then got out.
Wow, that really validates it right there, doesn't it? So with the documentary, is this something that you've always had in the back of your mind as something that you'd like to do, or has it sort of evolved out of the development of the entity we called it at the start that is Mcdojolife?
Well, I've always tiptoed with the idea. Yeah. Obviously people online are going to just want entertainment. Yeah. They're like, "You should just go to these studios and fight them." Well, that's dumb. Now I get to go someplace and I have premeditation in mind for violence. Yeah, that's not going to equal jail time for me at all. And it's dumb. Like, let's just say the truth, right? Any given Sunday, even Anderson Silva's lost. Most every fighter loses. The ability to be better than another human being isn't what this is all about. It doesn't really matter that way. That's ridiculous. The only reason people want me to go place to place to place and fight them is because they just want to see a fight.
Sure. Yeah.
They don't want anything resolved. Like, I treat this like the anti-smoking campaign here in the United States. We had a campaign called the Truth Campaign, and basically they just started giving out information, factual information about what smoking does to you. And over the years, our smoking rates here in the United States have dropped drastically. Yeah. I mean, just ridiculous numbers. And it wasn't because they walked up to the president of the Marlboro Company and punched him in the face. They weren't like, "Smoking's bad, punch face, ha ha, gotcha." No, they didn't do that. They just they decided to push as much truth out there as they could. And they did it in a way that got people's attention. Well, this is getting people's attention. This is working a hell of a lot better than just going door to door fist fighting people. And
I think the thing with it is, as well, is if let's say there's a group or an individual that ends up included, if they feel that there is that much of a serious injustice against them, they simply have to prove that what you've said isn't true. But they know that they're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that's one thing I want people to understand. Anything that I post, I am definitely willing. I 100% am willing to admit I am wrong. I have no problem with that. I don't want to ruin someone's life. I
Sure.
don't want to like take away their only source of income if they're a good human being. But I will not waver on the rules. That is standard. Those rules are in place not only to keep me in check, but to keep everyone else in check. So I don't waver from those. So somebody, I've had to deal with some people who were good human beings. I mean, they donated to charity, they helped out in their neighborhoods, they cleaned them up from drugs, all these great things, right? But they also are teaching people that they can knock people out with their mind. So with all of that, I say good. I'm so glad that they were able to go out and help and do all these great things, but they are also batshit crazy. And so I'm not really focusing on, okay, this guy like cleaned up all these problems. I'm focusing on the one or two people who don't give a shit that he did that, join that martial arts studio, believe it, and then get stabbed because they were taught that this would work. Those people, while they're laying there bleeding or when they get the shit beat out of them, aren't going to care that he cleaned up some problem in the neighborhood. Those people are no longer safe. So we have to have our checks and balances with this stuff, and usually, you were asking about like what my original goal was. Like if I had that goal of a documentary, I've always wanted to do something bigger and get it out there to seen by more people, because the more people who see it, the more people you can help. You can really truly help them. And so not everybody's going to agree 100% with me, and that's fine. But at least give people the option. Give people the option to get the research in. Let them research themselves. If they believe in chi, they believe in it. I can't change somebody's mind. But at least if we do a documentary and we can give them hard facts, hard evidence, right, and in a form that's entertaining, then maybe they'll listen and maybe it'll help somebody.
Sure. I would imagine that right now, since that trailer has dropped, there are some people getting quite twitchy in their chairs.
I got a call from Beijing, China last night. So yeah, definitely.
Wow, that's crazy. But there you see right there in itself, it's having an effect. If somebody is taking the time to call from China, that's wow. That's quite the result there. Fair play to you for that one. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the week when we were chatting back and forth about getting this interview set up, over in the UK right now, we're in the middle of our anti-bullying campaign. It's a national campaign highlighting the plights of bullying in all its forms. And I know that during our first chat in our interview earlier this year, you spoke a little bit about your experiences growing up with bullying, and I wondered if you'd be comfortable with sharing some of that again with us.
Yeah, not a problem. So the reason I started martial arts was because of bullying, and I don't agree with the word itself, to be honest.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that in a bit. But
absolutely.
I was born with a cleft palate, so I have scars on my face. And when I was a child, I had to undergo a lot of surgeries. So I was constantly in the hospital. I had, my face was constantly changing its shape because of the surgeries I was having. I was having skin grafts and bone grafts.
Oh, wow.
I was going through speech therapy. I had a lot as a child to try to work on. And
sure.
I wouldn't say overcome, it's just the way I fucking look, get a more of a personality, I guess. I don't know. But whenever you're going through stuff like that, children just don't understand what they're looking at. So they're curious. So as a child, it's constant questions and bombardments of being picked on and have to fight all the time because, people are saying these offensive things to you and, you say something back and they get offended. Next thing you know, you're fighting.
Yeah.
But I got jumped by a group of 6 kids. I was in a gym class. Some kids said something to me, so I turned around and said something back. Next thing you know, a group of 6 kids got up and came over, and they were using it as an excuse basically to beat me up. And so once I walked outside, the bell had rung for the class to be over, and they just immediately started beating me right outside this class. And they beat me for 5 minutes straight because that's the time between the bells from one class ending to the next class beginning. And I remember still getting hit while the next bell rang. So I know it was over 5 minutes. And they stabbed me with pencils. They hit me with book bags. They kicked me in the face. I was hurt pretty bad. I actually had to go to the hospital.
Wow.
And then 2 teachers stood there and watched the entire thing. They did nothing about it. There was some type of a rule going on at that time where a lot of teachers at the time had been breaking up fights But then the parents of those kids were suing because the teachers were leaving like bruise marks or arm or grab marks, and they were winning because technically they still are hurting the child, even though they were doing the right thing. And so those two teachers stood there and watched the entire thing, and they did nothing about it because of the stupid rule. And the rule is that the law enforcement officer who was on site had to break up the fights. Well, unfortunately, he was breaking up a fight on the other side of the campus at that time.
Oh, wow.
So I was laying there bleeding. My glasses were all broken. And then a friend of mine picked me up who was late to that class. And he picked me up and he handed me a card and he said, "You need this." Just like that. Never forget that. Remember that to this day. He's still my best friend to this day, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he handed me a card. He said, "You need this." And it was for karate. And so my birthday was only a month away. So my mom, who was very overprotective, she wouldn't let me do baseball, football, anything. Worried I'd get hurt. As soon as I asked her for this, she was like, "Okay." And she gave it to me as a birthday present.
Oh, wow.
And so here I am, 22 years later. And because of one person's act of kindness to pick me up and suggest something that'll help me, which was martial arts, I was a full-time martial arts instructor. I'm a third-degree black belt in karate. I'm a third-degree black belt in Mcdojolife, which is a weapon system not too many people have heard of. I'm a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a 6-0 amateur boxer, a 4-2 amateur kickboxer. I traveled the world internationally for 2 years with the kickboxing team. I owned a karate school for 4 years. I've been able to teach thousands of people seminars. And all because one act of kindness during a time of being bullied.
Yeah, I know. And there's a really cool full circle thing. You're now in a position through your persistence with the entity. I like that phrase, actually. With the Mcdojolife, and you're now giving that back to other people on a much larger scale. I love how those things come full circle like that sometimes. That's really cool.
Yeah, and some people still think I'm a bully, which is funny. They're like,
it's interesting, isn't it? It's subjective. It's subjective though, that isn't it? Sometimes we need to give these people that don't realize a bit of a gentle nudge.
Well, it's like my intent is never to destroy the other human being or hurt their feelings. I don't actually give a shit about the other person's feelings. I'm not there to hurt them. I'm not there to boost them up. What I am there to do is question what they're doing. And if they can prove me wrong and they have like, okay, well, this is what's going on. This is how this works, and it makes 100% sense, and it's functional, and it won't get someone hurt, cool. Then I'm wrong. Yeah. I will go on video and say, I am incorrect. This is correct. I don't have a problem with that because integrity in this is kind of important, Yeah.
Absolutely. Out of interest, have you ever had anybody come forward and say, I would like to be on video with you, showing you that my secret technique works, so that you can show everybody? Has anybody ever come forward with that as an offer?
Nope.
That's strange, isn't it? That.
Here's another thing that's funny is I go live, and I've done this for as long as Instagram has had live. I go live once a week, every week on Monday, and I go online and I let people join me live. Whoever wants to join me, whoever, doesn't matter. Now, also, before I tend to block people on my site, because I do have to block people from time to time who are just spamming or who threaten me. And like at the moment that they just start hurling insults at me, I have no time for that. I wouldn't do that to them. I don't have time for that. I try to answer and be as respectful to people as I possibly can be, even if I don't agree with them. So the moment they start becoming childish, I block them. I have no time for that. But before I block them, I always give them an opportunity to join me on live. And I let them know, hey, I'd like you to join me on live and discuss this face to face. They never have, not one time, not once in the 6 years had they even been willing to get on camera to discuss and prove me wrong. We're live. If you got me, you got me. There's nothing I could do. I can't edit it. It is what it is. And I want that fairness there, but they never do. And I think the thing is that they just get offended because of the fact that maybe I'm correct about what I was saying. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my assumption.
Yeah. It's martial arts is an eclectic mix, isn't it? It's a funny old circles, and just the difference in the types of videos and content that you put out as well. I mean, obviously some of it's there as a humorous thing, but some of it is just truly shocking. The things that people are tricked into thinking they'll be safe to do. We're going to run this vehicle over you, or we're going to, stand here. I'm going to do this. You'll be fine. And they do it. And then obviously then they're not fine.
Yeah,
But
that
then
was
people
actually
still.
a part of the trailer we just dropped.
All
So there
right.
was
Yes.
in Indonesia, Salat
Yes.
is like very fine line between the religious part of it and the spiritual part of it and the physical part of it. And so Salat is a very difficult art to navigate because, believe it or not, here in the United States, Salat to me is way more legitimate than it is overseas. Because at least here in the United States, some of the crazy hokiness that comes with it isn't even really allowed here. Like, for instance, like you can't do a Salat demonstration, which was the truck thing, where they had these, this is in Indonesia, they had a group, I don't know, it looked like maybe 200 people standing around, if not more, in this field area, which looks like it was maybe outside of someone's village or town. And they had all these bodies laying down. They all had like green sashes on. And so they're all laying down on their stomachs. And then the camera pans out. And then you see like a block, which is like a wedge shape, which you know is like a ramp for a car to drive up. And then you backs up even more, and you see this military-grade size truck.
Oh, it's just crazy.
And then you realize that the people who are laying down are in their teens, anywhere between like 12 to 17. Then this truck starts up, and it goes over this ramp. Well, the ramp was much taller than the people. So when the truck comes off this first ramp, it lands hard on the first person. Then it commences to running over the others. And you can see in the video, like the guy who's like fourth in line just backs out because he's got common sense. He grows it. He's like, nah, I'm out. And he just doesn't do it. Smart on him. That's called intelligence. And then, but after that truck was done running those people over, the first two kids were unresponsive. And then, so they try to make they wind up reviving the second kid in the row, but the first kid never gets revived. All you see, and like this goes on for like at least 2 minutes. He never comes to, and and then they have to carry this kid's body off frame. I get sent stuff I can't post, like so much stuff I can't post because it would get taken down. But it's that kind of stuff that just kills me because people don't see the danger because they don't see that type of how it could be. It can be that. You can get people to drink this Kool-Aid to do whatever it is you want them to do. And now martial arts might just be that first catalyst. And what I am terrified, and I'll be damned as long as I have some air in my lungs, that there'll be another cult leader like there was like Jim Jones to make these people believe so much and then take advantage of them and then have them drink that Kool-Aid or kill them. And people laugh. They, oh, it never happened. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And this might just be that vehicle that they use. And the exact same way. It's just they're just using karate as the thing to hide it. They're not hiding behind some religion. They're hiding behind the spirituality of the martial arts. And they can take advantage of people just as much and get them hurt just as bad, if not worse, because I've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, people get swept away in the mysticism of it all. I think we're all influenced by it to a certain degree. It's just it takes us in different routes. For example, when I was a kid growing up, I saw the Karate Kid on TV, and I was like, "That's what I want to do. I want to balance on boats and do punches, and I want to stand on posts and do crane kicks. I want to enter tournaments and clear out everybody." Obviously, it's not realistic, but you get caught up in that mysticism as a child, and then your instructor, when you get the good intention one, will go, "Okay, well that stuff's cool, but this is what we're really doing," and they'll gently nudge you. But then these other people take you the opposite way. They go, okay, I can see that this has caught your attention. Let's go down this path, and then before they know it, they're laying on the ground and a truck's running over them. It's scary.
Yeah, and I wanted to be Michelangelo. I wanted to be a Ninja Turtle. Damn it! But
you got some way there though. To be fair, I've seen your chuck skills.
Well, but I didn't turn out to be a 6'4" green turtle that lives in the sewer.
No.
So you can get some of it. Like that's the whole thing. That is martial arts in a nutshell, right? Like some of it is completely and 100% realistic and doable. Right. And it could defy what most people consider as reality. Some can, right? There's people who do the acrobatic kicking or they could like do a standing like double backflip and land on their feet. I can't do that shit. Doesn't mean that it can't be done. No, it can be done. I've seen it done. But, like, what are you doing it for? Now, if you do it because you want to be a stunt person, that is awesome. I say go for it. If you try to convince people that you can double backflip your way out of something in self-defense, no. It's like there's always that fine line between what is reality and what is the fantasy.
Sure. And even with that sort of training in mind as well, there's a tangible, you can give somebody a progressive list of, you're watching me do this double back somersault. Well, here's how I did it. Here are the steps that I took to get to this. The difference between that and, say, chi blasting somebody across a TV studio, well, could you show me how you did that? Oh, well, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no physics, there's no science.
That's the standard for knowing what is and what is not real is can you at least walk me through it verbally? And if you can't, well, if you can't even explain it, one or two things. Either you're a really terrible teacher or this isn't real. It's a fantasy, and that, like if you want to play D&D, that's cool, man. I roll that 2d6 and play that D&D, if you want to like LARP and you want to play dress up like a ninja and go do that in the woods, that is completely fine. But don't sit there and try to call it something that's real if it's not.
I'll never forget that. There's that one particular video in the TV studio where the guy they're firing chi at each other across the studio. They take it in turns. It's brilliant.
Like chi fighting. I remember that.
And the guy, the last one, he really throws himself into the surroundings. It's just like, wow. To give the guy an award for that, that's amazing. Even the guy that throws the blast looking a little bit like, that was a little bit over the top. I didn't blast you that hard. Listen, it's been great. Look, it's been great chatting. We've been speaking for nearly an hour already. It's gone so fast. Before I close it though, just out of interest, how is your own training going and progressing? And has this opened doors for you as well with regards to your own progression and getting out there and doing more?
I mean, it's a little hit or miss. Like one thing that I really enjoyed this last year, especially with all the traveling, is going to different people's studios.
Yeah.
Like when I was in London, I got to take some Taekwondo, which was great. It was so fun. Great studio. Yeah. When I go to New York, I have studios that I like to train in New York. There are the bigger ones like the Marcelo Garcias and the Henzos and stuff like that. But I really enjoy like looking for those like little studios.
Little hidden gems.
Yeah. I got to go to Jackson Winklejohn in Arizona. So it's fun. But it is hit or miss. Like I do have to still be very cautious about what gym I go to. How they treat me is different sometimes. I don't want to be treated any different. Some people think that I'm there to expose their gym, and I have to explain, like, look, I'm just working out. Like, the camera in my hand, man. Like, and then there's some places that invite me, and that's cool. But then the instructors are like constantly like looking over their shoulder, and they want to test me. Like, look, I'll be the first person to tell you, I am mediocre at this. I am not the greatest fighter on the planet, nor do I claim to be, nor will I ever claim to be. I had my moment of competition. I had my early 20s, mid 20s, where all I did was travel the world and compete. I'm just not competitive, right? I see that there's more to this than kicking and punching faces, and I just simply enjoy it. My training locally hasn't been nearly as good. I mean, just because, in all honesty, this takes up a ridiculous amount of time, especially since I'm the only person having to deal with over 500,000 followers now across different platforms.
Wow.
I answer every direct message. Anybody who wants to talk to me, I'm willing to talk to them. Anybody who has any type of an issue, I'm willing to talk and address it with them. Eventually, I'm hoping within this next year, I'll have a team. And also I have apparel. I also have a documentary I'm working on. Yep. I've been working on writing a book. The book has absolutely nothing to do with Mcdojolife whatsoever.
Wow.
Like I'm trying to stay as busy as I can to really make something of this. And unfortunately, like I said, it's not all about the kicks and punches. So sometimes I got to do some paperwork,
Yeah. I feel you on that one. Absolutely. Well, listen, it's been fantastic talking. I really do appreciate your time. And I encourage anybody out there that's listening to this that hasn't seen Mcdojolife to go and find it. Pretty much on any social media platform, if you type it in, you're going to find some content there. What I would say is schedule yourself some time. Don't do what I've done in the past and said, I'll grab a coffee, sit down for 5 minutes. Half an hour later, you're still clicking through videos thinking, I cannot actually believe that people do this. You got to be strict with your time. And as Rob mentioned, the apparel as well, go check that out because I've seen some of the stuff and it's really cool. In fact, I need to get some ordered as well. Rep it over in the UK. But next time you come over to the UK, we should meet up. We'll make sure that you don't end up getting threatened by any crazy Taekwondo teachers.
That would be great.
I can take you around some of the less crazy Taekwondo schools. But no, joking aside, it's been great. Best of luck with everything. When the documentary lands, or when if hopefully you don't, but if you do get to the point where you have any crowdfunding, do let me know, and I'll be sure to share that.
January 1st.
Yep, I'll share it with the listeners, and we'll get this the attention it needs and get it to Netflix. And as Rob mentioned as well, if you do see any of the links out there, do share them and do make sure you tag Netflix in there. And if you know anybody that works at Netflix, especially in the UK, hit me up, let me know, and let's see if we can lend them a hand with getting this going.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Not a problem at all. Well, have a great rest of your day, whatever you've got planned, and your weekend. And let's do this again in another year's time.
All right, sounds good, brother.
Thank you very much.
All right, man. Later.
You're listening to Kick Back with Chris, the martial arts podcast, brought to you by www.onlinekicking.co.uk.
Big thank you to Rob from Mcdojolife there for his time. As he mentioned at the close of the interview there, he's a very, very busy guy, so I do appreciate him giving up nearly an hour of his time. Especially with the time difference that we had. It's a pretty huge time difference. I mean, what was it? It was 1:30 UK time here, and I think it was about 7:30 AM there, so it's really good of him to get up and give up his time in that way. Be sure, as I said, to do, if you haven't checked out Mcdojolife, I'll link some of the various links to the social media groups in the show notes, so do go check it out. Some of it is incredibly amusing, and some of it is absolutely shocking to believe that this sort of stuff goes on in the martial arts. But anyway, as I've said, the martial arts does attract quite an eclectic mix of people. So earlier on in the episode, I'd mentioned our current social media issues, as frustrating as it is. We're having to sort of work around it. What I'm looking to do in the new year, obviously we've taken some quite, I'll say, significant steps this previous couple of episodes. Obviously we had our Jean-Claude Van Damme special, which he shared, which was awesome. Then we had our Mark Dacascos episode, which again he very kindly shared and sent over an exclusive audio clip just for our podcast, which can't say better than that, really. It's absolutely fantastic. So we've taken some decent steps this last couple of months, and I want to keep up that momentum. Now, since day one and the inception of this podcast, it has been me sat in my studio at my desk or at home at my table in my living room with my microphone set up recording these. Not that that's a problem at all, but what I need to do in 2020 is invest some more time and some more money into this to take it to the next level. Because let's face it, you guys, I want to give the best to you guys that I can. And I know from what people ask that you're wanting specific people on the podcast. Now, the reality of getting bigger guests on, and this isn't them being in any way funny, obviously it's business for them. Some people demand certain listenership levels and certain stats in order to justify them being involved with the podcast, and that's it's just a realistic part of the business that is podcasting. Now, in order to be able to generate those numbers, we need to spend some money on advertising. As interesting as Rob says, you can have the best product in the world, but if people don't know about it, then why are they going to pay any attention to it? And it's the same with this podcast. Now, I'm not by any means saying I've got the best podcast in existence. I'm always going to be a little bit biased of my own podcast, but joking aside, if people don't know about it, then why are they going to listen to it? Now, one of the big things that you guys can do, which I've mentioned before, is you can share the living whatsits out of the links on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, everywhere. Share those links, because that does a huge amount towards spreading the word of the podcast, so that we get new listeners coming in. But from our side, what I need to do once our Facebook block is up is be more active with advertising. And actually, admittedly, we need to bring in some experts in this, which costs money. It's not free. So I want to be looking to approach different marketing groups. So where can you help with that? Unless you run a marketing company and you're willing to help me out with some time there. The best thing that you guys can do is to get involved with any of our affiliate schemes or any of our promotions that we're running. Now, obviously, the most obvious ones are our show sponsors, which is Mittmaster.com. If you go to our website, kickbackpodcast.com, at the very top of there is a banner directly through to the Mittmaster content, all the different content, whether it's pad training, whether it's class plans, whether it's entire syllabus, whether it's you're wanting to train in the Mittmaster program yourself. There is so much there, from boxing to kickboxing to kicking drills to boxing drills to grappling work. There's so much there. If you're interested, if you've been thinking and getting involved, or if you actually have one of the Mittmaster products now, if you're looking to get involved and buy more, if you go through the link on our website or the link within our show notes, we do get a percentage of that back. Now, it doesn't cost you any more. It's exactly the same. You get the same content, but what Matt has very generously agreed to do is to give us a percentage of each of those sales. So that goes straight back into the show. So I can then put that into the advertising, which in turn allows us to get bigger and even better guests on than we've ever had before. Not that I'm not saying we've not had some great and big guests on now. Digging myself a big hole with that one, aren't I? But you know what I'm saying? Some of the guests that we would like to approach that will demand certain figures, that can help with that. So get clicking on that banner at kickbackpodcast.com, which is really hard to say when your mouth's cold. Even cold's hard to say. But no, if you get on that banner, click, go and have a look at the stuff, or go through the show notes and buy from there. Also, we've got our scheme going with our friends at artmartialclothing.com. If you use the promo code CJ19, you can save yourself 20% on any of their t-shirts, which, let's face it, those t-shirts are very cool. Almost as cool as our official t-shirts that we're going to be stocking very, very soon. I've just this morning done a fresh deal with a clothing company. I'm going to be stocking a limited run of the t-shirts at my studio. So keep an eye out on social media, maybe not Facebook, but on Instagram and Twitter and the like pages on Facebook. My like page still works, just my profile doesn't. For those t-shirts, they're actually going to be at a reduced price initially, which will include postage as well. So there'll be no nasty postage charges, as I found a lot of the other companies have whacked on at the last minute. I'll be posting them all direct with my own hands to the postman or post lady, post person. It's 2019, you've got to be careful. Straight to your doorstep. So they'll be sent by me personally. And actually, joking aside, if you do, for any bizarre reason, want me to sign any of the stuff, I'll happily do it. Okay, so I think on that note, we should go straight to our conversation, our weekly match chat with Mr. Matthew Chapman, and then I'll catch up with you on the other side.
Brought to you by www.mittmaster.com.
All right, guys, so joining us after a couple of weeks' break for various logistical reasons, and me just not being very organised, is Mr. Matthew Chapman. Hey,
hello.
We need to get like a sound now for when like a round of applause sound or something. Or
that'd be nice. Or someone eating cake would be good. That'd be
one
good.
of those old-fashioned sounds where you press a till and it goes ching, and that thing goes up.
Yes, something like that would be good.
Oh my God. Like an elastic twang sound for pants.
No. Let's stop now. A round of applause will do. We don't need the cash register and the pants fingers.
Okay, so joining us on the phone, we have Matthew Chapman. Hey!
Oh, thank you. Cheers. Thank you.
That first bit didn't happen. Award-winning Matthew Chapman.
Yes, apparently.
Love it. So, what you've been up to? There's been a lot going on since we last spoke. I've been on one of your training courses. I did some physical stuff with you rather than just
chatting,
talking about physical stuff.
Yeah,
that was good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was nice to have you there, to have you support.
You great big fibber.
No, why not? It's great to have you there. You can do all the stuff, and it was nice. So, that was good. That was a little seminar I did up in Sheffield for Mittmaster. That was cool. And then last weekend I was at MABX, which is a big business conference in the UK for martial arts instructors, which is also pretty fun, meeting lots of cool instructors, hanging out, chatting, learning bits and pieces about social media marketing and all of that. So yeah, lovely.
Did Gordon lose his voice this year before the end, or was he?
No, he was good. He was strong to the end.
He's been building that throat conditioning up.
He has. So he did some great presentations on Facebook and sort of staff training, and his were really, really useful because he was just delivering lots of great content.
Yeah.
So that was really good fun, and it's well attended, and everyone left with some new ideas and some new stuff for their business. I did a little thing on my usual speech on trying to get people to set up online courses, and most of them were looking at me blankly, like a few decided that it might be worth considering and investing. And the funny thing is, there was a person there who had done an online, done in a day with me about 6 months before.
Yeah.
And she launched a program at the event and did £6,000 at the event in terms of sales.
Wowzers!
In a weekend. So that was really nice. I was like, oh, this is so cool, because it's nice when you help people and then they like get instant results. That's awesome. So I was well happy with that. So
So they were making some money in their smart clothes.
They were very, very well dressed. So that was nice to see people like who I'd helped like succeed and see the result there and then. That was lovely. I like that feeling of, you've helped people and then they do good. So that was good.
Gives you that warm sort of ready break feeling in the tummy.
Yeah. And then there was a lot on social media, which is probably something we should talk about today, seeing as the issues you've had.
Social media?
In the last few weeks.
Who needs that?
That's it, isn't it? So you had a problem, didn't you, recently?
A problem? You could say so. Yeah, I had a problem. I had a loving supporter sharing their love for my posts. No, basically, somebody decided to report some of my posts to Facebook because they felt they were spammy, including one to say thank you to people for supporting my Facebook group. So, yes, I have been sin-binned for 3 months from the lovely people at Facebook. So, although there's some irony to it, my like pages do still all work, and they do still seem to be getting decent reach. So again, I'll just quickly say, sorry, I am posting in my like pages a ridiculous amount. I'm literally just like, what can I take a photo of? Right, my hat. This is the hat that I like to wear. Put it on Facebook. But no, joking aside, I'm just trying to sort of push out because I wasn't using them very much. I'm trying to kind of use them as a substitute page until such time as my profile works again. But yes, they haven't blocked my like pages because obviously I can boost the posts and they can make money out of me still.
Right. Okay, that's nice. Have they blocked your school's pages then? Or
so all of my like pages work absolutely fine. I can post to my like pages. I can spend money on my like pages.
Right.
But I'm not allowed to post inside of my own groups.
No. Right.
So
that doesn't even make any sense.
Yes. So groups that I have created, I can't post in them, which is, it is frustrating for, let's say, my online training groups, because I can't use them and I have no way of explaining. Well, I don't want to risk spamming them by sending them messages. I can email some of them, obviously, but it just means I can't use those, even though I created them, which is a little bit weird. But yes, it's also meaning I can't contact my own students and parents in my own school through our Facebook groups. But I've set a staff member as admin, and I'm just going to let them do it for the short term, and maybe just let them carry on doing it.
Right? Yeah, that might be an idea.
Might be just a transitional phase there. So
it's tricky. Like we as instructors, we tend to focus a lot on our Facebook, don't we? Because it works
and it's easy.
Yes, and then something goes wrong, throws a spanner in the work, and if that's like your primary source of marketing, you could be in the doo-doo for a bit, can't you?
Yes, just a bit. But it is frustrating, but what it has, like you mentioned there, it's made me realize that I had an Instagram account, I have a Twitter account, and I have a LinkedIn account, and I was using them, but I was using them as sort of like a second, third, and fourth thought
Yeah.
Must get it on Facebook. Yeah, Instagram, Twitter, stick it on there. Then I might remember Instagram occasionally.
Yes.
So now I'm trying to learn the sort of the ins and outs of all three of them and the benefits and the ways that they work differently and the ways they work the same, and using them. And interestingly enough, I found that Instagram is actually a hell of a lot better place to to function than Facebook in certain regards. So
yeah, I mean,
I've been
some
really
people
concentrating on that.
some people love Instagram, some people love Facebook. But I think as you're finding out, you can't just rely on one, can you? You need
Yep.
to be on all the major social media networks and still do your email marketing and still do your flyering and still do your school talks and still do your referral schemes. What I think is happening for a lot of instructors is they're just chucking hundreds of pounds at Facebook and it's kind of working for them sometimes and sometimes not. And it's made us a little bit lazy with our marketing in a sense because we just think Facebook will solve all our problems.
Yeah, that's Facebook solves all our problems. Could you imagine that? If under the boost button, they could have a solve all my problems button.
Oh yeah,
£100 on solve all my problems, please.
Yes.
How many days would you like us to solve your problems for? We find that if you spread it over 4 days, it works better.
You would get much better. That would be the ultimate button, wouldn't it? So yeah, I'm always going on at instructors, as you know, about a marketing matrix, like a mix of different things that you do, and not just relying on one channel only, because sometimes it can bite you in the ass.
Kind of just.
Yeah. And the thing I found at the weekend was it was very heavily focused on social media.
Yes.
Which is fine because it's obviously a big thing. But I think a lot of instructors are just forgetting the basics of, retention, having a good referral scheme, doing work in the community, even press releases and PR and things like that are still worth doing because, on one of my last press releases I was at my school, the editor got in contact and then sent down a reporter, and we had a 2-page spread in the local paper, which, the kids aren't reading the local paper, but some of the adults will be. So you can do these things and they still work. You just got to remember to use them because otherwise you just chuck lots of money at Facebook. And of course, Facebook can change its rules at any time.
Yeah.
You don't control how Facebook works or how it operates or what it does with your information, etc. So it could just say, right, businesses are out now. You're not doing any marketing anymore. And you kind of lose the skills of doing the other stuff.
Yeah, you can see it kind of now, like a year or two down the line, and hopefully a future MobX, somebody on the stage. This is how you design a leaflet.
Yes. Yeah.
This is how you do a successful school talk.
Yeah, because you still got to do these things because they still work. And what's going to happen with Facebook, and this is not my opinion, this is the opinion of Gary Vaynerchuk, who's considered, the expert on social media currently. He's saying that big business is currently still spending a lot of money on TV adverts, which don't work because we never watched them, because we fast forward through them. So when they figure out, BMW, Coke, and these big companies figure out that we're not watching their TV adverts, they're going to put all of their money into Facebook, which means because there's only one feed, you're scrolling through your feed, us pokey little martial arts instructors are not going to be able to afford to get our adverts on the feed, because as soon as Coke and Pepsi and BMW and all these big companies start chucking their money into Facebook, the price will go up for all ads, because it'll be, Facebook will go, oh, look, big money, we'll put a price for everything, and then we'll just get outbid, so our ads won't even show up. And I think he's right. Within sort of 5 years, we won't be able to afford ads to be seen by enough people.
Sure. For
a small business. So in which case, you better be starting to think about a backup plan for when you can't afford Facebook ads.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I would imagine within months, years, maybe, there's going to come a point where the terms are, and I believe it's there already. They're not particularly strict on it, maybe because the technology is not quite there yet, but I think it's going to get to a point where, you make a personal Facebook profile, and you stick a poster for your business on there or something, and they'll just turn around immediately and go, "Nope, sorry, can't do that." Gone.
Yeah.
Or part of signing up for it will be, "You're welcome to use Facebook for free, but we still need your credit card details." And the second you bang on a poster, they'll charge you for it.
It might be. Yeah.
There'll be some way where there'll be some way they'll figure out a way of doing it. They'll either boot you off or charge you for it. Because I think that's the thing we've talked about before, haven't we? A lot of us, we get so used to, we have our phones delivered to our house by the nice delivery man, and we open it and Facebook's pre-installed. It's on there. It's sort of become part of society now. It's sort of interwoven to a degree where it's just there all the time. We take it for granted, but we're still not getting charged for it.
No.
And it won't go on like that. There's no way it will. It's. I mean, I know they're making money anyway, but still, I don't see it being
continuing to be free as it is now. You might have to pay not to see ads and things like that. They'll work out some way of
subscription service. There'll be like Facebook Gold or something. Or I don't know. They'll do something.
Yes,
it's going to happen, isn't it? Like you say, doom and gloom.
No, it's not doom and gloom. It's realistic, practical stuff, isn't it? Because if you are only Facebook marketing now, and that's your primary method of marketing, I believe in a few years you're going to be unstuck. You still got to do the basics. You still got to do the referral marketing in your school. You still got to get out into the community and talk to people and do stuff physically in the community. You can still use press and links on website. Having a decent website is still important. All of these things form part of a marketing plan, not just banging 100 quid on Facebook every couple of weeks.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if things kind of come full circle. I mean, I know websites are important still, but I think so many people, they're just internet, social media. They don't go any further than that, do they? They don't go outside of that bubble.
No, what they do is they ask their friends on social media, do you know a decent martial arts class locally? Which is, that way. So you need to be doing the stuff on Facebook where you're constantly promoting yourself in the groups and getting stuff out there so that people think of you first. But that's also based on your reputation in the school, isn't it? Because if you teach fantastic lessons and your students love the training, they'll pipe up on Facebook. That's the place to go. So, I think there's a danger for instructors of becoming too heavily reliant on one marketing channel, and they need to diversify a little bit and protect themselves against the risk of it all going south. Yeah,
it'd be interesting if websites do become a lot more relevant again, like they used to. Years ago, if Facebook does tighten up on things and does make it a little bit less easy to sponge off free publicity constantly, websites might might become more relevant,
well, it's if people don't know if they ask on Facebook, because a lot of people now go straight to Facebook to ask people for recommendations, but if they don't get the recommendations they want or like, the next thing they're going to do is go to Google. So you still need to have a website and still be up there ranking on Google, even as a backup plan, if you're not doing enough on Facebook. But it's the whole mix of things. I think it's going to go less and less technological. So I think people are going to if you do so you kind of do what the opposite of what the masses do. So the masses are all putting money on Facebook. So if you do lots of community stuff and actually get out there and speak to schools and get out there and speak to business owners and get out there and speak to customers face to face and get out there and do demos and talks and free self-defense workshops and all of that, I think that's going to be the next thing, getting back into the face-to-face stuff like we did 20 years ago.
Oh dear.
Sorry.
I have to talk to people.
Yeah, no, awful, isn't it? I know.
Interact with people outside.
With the public, yes.
Sociable. Oh, dearie me.
I think that's going to be the next thing that people are going to get back into. So it's going to go full circle, yeah.
Interesting. Oh. Very cool. So what have you got coming up? What have you got going on? What's in the pipeline? End of the year.
It's near the end of the year, isn't it? Yeah. So for me, with the Mittmaster stuff I do, Black Friday's approaching. Ooh. And that's always a big one for me. So I'll do some promotions for Black Friday and get some sales of the Mittmaster products going on there. And then it's just... You did. And then it's just getting ready for Christmas, spending the money I made from my Black Friday sale on Christmas presents and food and decorations and junk.
Cake.
Just kind of winding down a little bit. I start planning out my next year. So I start working out what I'm going to do next year in the next couple of months.
With some accountability in there maybe as well.
Well, I need a decent coach on this side of stuff, on the digital side, because there's lots of business coaches out there, but I need someone who's got skills in the area that I work, and most of them haven't. So they don't really understand the digital. They understand, So I do work quite hard myself, and I don't need that much accountability, but it'd be good to bounce ideas off a...
Oh, no, I do.
For coach. You do, yeah?
I need an account. Yeah, we were talking about this, weren't we, the day, you remember? And I said, what are you going to set as your goals for next year? And I'm like, I don't know. Keep being ace. I need to, I have a habit of setting the bar way too low, so I can always easily achieve.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I need to. Do you remember we were joking about it, saying, next year we need to get Jackie Chan on the podcast?
Yes.
Yes.
Did that terrify you? Did it?
It doesn't. It doesn't terrify me. Well, no, that's not true. My one part of my brain's going, yeah, that'd be really cool, and the other side's going, stop being idiots. That's never going to happen. Don't set that as a goal. So,
yeah, but as a year goal, why not?
Yeah, can you imagine that?
Also, it doesn't really matter if you do get him in the end. You've done all the work of building up relationships that may pay dividends in 2 years or 3 years or beyond.
If you'd have asked me 8 weeks ago if we would have had Jean-Claude Van Damme and Mark Dacascos on the show back to back, I would have gone, shut up.
Exactly.
Fool.
So getting Jackie could be the goal for next year. That would be so cool.
So I'm going to have Jackie Chan, I'm going to have Jet Li, I'm going to just
have one.
I'm going to even have Bruce Lee on the podcast. First.
That would be awesome.
I'm going to go to Derek Acora or somebody like that and go, can you? Yeah.
That's so funny.
Channel Bruce Lee for me, please.
Just Jackie Chan. Let's focus on Jackie Chan, and then let's set that as a goal, and then our listeners will be super excited when it happens.
So the 12th of November next year, we can have another one of these chats, and we can say, so...
Jackie Chan was on.
Yeah. I'm going to just literally have to find him at an event somewhere with a charity thing and just like run past with a dictaphone and just like
say sorry.
Hi Jackie, say something to Seller to listen. He's like, what? Like, that'll do.
No, I think we have to have a proper like a 10-minute chat with Jackie Chan. So it's got to be a proper.
Oh dearie me. Okay.
Come on, let's set the goal high. Let's set the bar high. Like a 2 words, Jackie. I want to sit down chat with Jackie.
All right. So what's yours going to be then? I said you should do a Mittmaster cruise.
Yeah, that does sound rather nice, doesn't it? I mean, that doesn't seem like a scary goal for me. I need to figure something that would, because that sounds like fun. So I just do that for fun. I've got to find something that makes me go, ooh. I'm going to have a think, and you have a think. Where we'll discuss it tomorrow, and then the listeners can hold us accountable next year.
Love it. All right, dude. Well, thanks as always. Have a great rest of your week and weekend and all that. And
thank you, mate. And you.
We'll chat soon.
Will do, mate. Bye.
Brought to you by www.mittmaster.com.
So thank you to Matt for his time. As always, great fun. Really enjoy those chats. I get so much out of it as well, and I'm hoping you guys do too. So, I'm not wanting to labour on it too much. But don't forget, please do go check out all of our fantastic supporters, including Mittmaster.com, via our links on our show notes and through our tab at the top of our Facebook page. No, that's not right, not Facebook. Got Facebook on the brain. On our website, kickbackpodcast.com. If you go to the top, there's a banner there. If you click on it for Mittmaster.com, we get a percentage of all the sales that you lovely people buy when you're over on that fantastic website. And saying that, joking aside, it is actually really good content. I use it in my own classes for my own training. I'm actually part way through the Mittmaster training program itself. So I'm hoping to be a level 1 coach and maybe even a level 2 coach before too long. But next week, moving on to next week's podcast, I'm going to be doing one of our ever popular Ask Me a Question episodes. These tend to be one of our most popular or more popular episode types. So if you've got a question, anything relating to martial arts, be it movies, be it training, be it business, be it more of a statement that you're wanting to make about the state of the industry that you want me to comment on, and actually on that, if you would rather remain anonymous, that's fine. Just let me know and I will not include your name or give you a funny name to compensate for not having a name there. But no, joking aside, if you do want to send a comment over and you're not wanting to get your name, and I work in this industry too, and I know how it can be. If you would prefer your name is not involved, absolutely, I will not. But at the same time, I don't want that to put people off from putting their views across. So send me your comments, your questions on the martial arts. Again, be it film, be it industry, be it training tips, anything at all. You can get in touch at us at our Facebook like page. You can also get in touch with us at kickbackpodcast.com or by email, which is chrisjonestkd@gmail.com. You can also use the old-fashioned approach, which is telephone or text at 07802 889 391. And then I'll be collating all those questions, putting them together, answering as many of them as possible, and including them in next week's show. Thank you all for your time as always and your support. Please be sure to share these links across your social media platforms as much as possible. It really, really does help. And we'll speak next week. Thanks, guys. Have a great end to your week, weekend, whatever it is you're doing. Goodbye.
Enjoy our podcast? Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review Kickback with Chris on iTunes today.